1,000 songs. And it goes right in my pocket.
Failure of the future has to be a nation that is agile, that is innovative, that is creative.
Innovation. Welcome to Future Squared, the podcast all about innovation in the enterprise, brought to you and run by Collective Campus, an innovation hub based in Australia that works with companies to help them adopt the mindset, methodologies and tools to successfully explore new business models and disruptive innovation in an era of rapid change. For more information, go to www.collectivecamp.us. And without further ado, here's today's podcast.
Welcome back to Future Squared, everybody. Today I'll be bringing you Neil Patel. He's a serial entrepreneur, investor, and blogger. He's the co-founder of online marketing tools Crazy Egg, Hello Bar, and KISSmetrics. He's helped companies like Amazon, NBC, GM, HP, and Viacom grow their revenue. The Wall Street Journal calls him a top influencer on the web. Forbes says he's one of the top 10 online marketers, and Entrepreneur magazine says he created one of the top 100 most brilliant companies in the world. He was recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama and one of the top 100 entrepreneurs under the age of 35 by the United Nations. Neil has also been awarded Congressional Recognition from the United States House of Representatives. With that, it gives me much pleasure to bring you one of the most influential names in the world of online marketing and growth hacking, Neil Patel. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. So I understand you're joining us all the way from Los Angeles?
That's right. I'm traveling right now, so it's not too far of a journey for me, but I'm in Los Angeles.
Awesome. Traveling for any particular reason or just client work?
No, just meetings, like with some people I do business with. So not really clients, but more so like business partners and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, I mean, normally when you're not traveling, you're shacked up in the Mandarin Oriental Hotel in Las Vegas, where I understand you live in an apartment with very, very minimalist sort of furnishings. Is that right?
That's right. I mainly live in Seattle, but yes, I go to the Mandarin in Vegas. I stay there every once in a while. I'm in the process of selling that home, so whenever that happens.
Fair enough. And I understand it was initially quite extravagantly furnished, and then eventually you just said, hey, I'm just going to sell all this furniture, and you found yourself sitting on the floor on your MacBook. Is that right?
That's correct.
I imagine it got a little bit uncomfortable after a while.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. My bum started hurting, and I started sitting on the pillows.
Fair enough. Cool. So on your career trajectory, I mean, you initially started selling vacuum cleaners, and today you're one of the most influential online marketers and growth hackers in the world. You've received honors from the likes of Forbes, Entrepreneur magazine, President Obama, and the United Nations. Can you tell our audience a little bit more about how this career trajectory came about?
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out how to get traffic to my website, paying marketing agencies. They took my money, provided no results, so I had to learn on my own, and I got good at it. And from there, I started marketing my own businesses.
Cool. So you initially started exploring growth hacking techniques to apply to the vacuum cleaning business?
No, I was using these techniques because I created a website, a job board, and I was paying people to market the website for me. They just weren't able to provide results.
Is that something you see quite often, where, say, there's a lot of marketing agencies who may be great at execution when it comes to, knowing how to use the different tools that are available, but perhaps not so much, I suppose, the definitive strategy?
Yeah, you see that quite often. So.
Yeah, it seems to be quite common. So I guess I wanted to talk to you today more about the corporate innovation side of things. And there's a wealth of information out there about yourself talking on, startups and growth hacking and whatnot, but not so much on the corporate side of things. And I know that you've done quite a bit of work with companies like Amazon, HP, GM, and Viacom. Now, a lot of these organizations already have existing customer bases, and I know you've mentioned that, it's important that companies build their audience first before they start to sell something. But if I'm Amazon or HP, say, and I've already got a big audience, how does that apply? For example, if I am building a new product, I guess the question really is, if I'm selling something for which I already have an audience, then that probably doesn't apply. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
But again, if I am Amazon and I'm exploring some kind of disruptive innovation where perhaps we're not sure who the market is, who's going to use this, then do the same sort of build your audience first strategies apply?
Yeah, it could at that size. You're saying if you're Amazon or if you're not Amazon?
Oh, well, if you are Amazon, but you're building something where maybe our existing customer base, I mean, if you are Amazon, pretty much everyone in the world is a customer of some persuasion.
Like, it's a bit different because if you're Amazon, even if you're targeting a new customer base, it doesn't matter. You can go spend $100 million on TV ads, right?
Yeah.
When you're a small business, building your customer base, not even customer, building the audience is very important because then when you have a product to sell, you have buyers right away. And that way you didn't waste a ton of money. But it's difficult to do that unless, and this is a very important unless, it's very difficult to do that unless you can end up educating. Like you can't just build an audience for no reason. You have to be providing them value and building that relationship and helping them out. So that way when you have something to sell, they have that emotional tie, that connection with you, they're much more likely to buy.
That makes perfect sense. And I guess, I know you're a big advocate of creating value and giving away value for free because essentially it's one of the best forms of marketing when people can see, hey, this guy actually knows his stuff when it comes to growth hacking and digital marketing. And you may be able to give away even strategies, but a lot of people will find that, hey, this is too hard. Let's just get this guy to do it for us. But in the context of, say, large organizations, when it comes to startups, there's blogs, podcasts, infographics that they generate and distribute. If I'm a large company, do you think the content marketing play is just as important?
It is. It works really well. Why not? You can be a company who does $1 billion in revenue and you only have, 1 million visitors to your site. Not everyone, just because you do more revenue doesn't mean you have a ton of visitors. So if you can get more traffic through content marketing, extra 500,000, 100,000, 200,000-300,000 visitors, whatever it may be, really does help.
Yeah, definitely. And have you got any examples of large companies executing good content strategies?
I used to work with Intuit and do content strategies there. They did a good job. Google tries to do content strategies on their end with the AdWords platform. They do a decent job there. But yeah, it works for these large companies. You just don't see too many of them doing it.
And do you think that's probably a reflection of the fact that they do have big budgets to spend on big above-the-line marketing campaigns, or?
I don't think they all get it yet, or they don't understand how to calculate the ROI. And the real trick with content marketing is there is no real ROI in the first 3-6 months or even a year. You just do it because it builds up the brand. It's like calculate the ROI on TV advertising. People still do it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, TV advertising is profitable." How do you really track someone watches a TV ad and then they buy your product? There's no direct way. It's not like a Google ad campaign where they click on an ad, they buy, and you can track it exactly, through pixels, and you can see that actual person converted because they clicked on the ad and they've never seen your brand before. Yeah,
and I think that's, to your point, I think that's something that large organizations in many cases perhaps still don't get. And it's funny what you said about the ROI, because that's, it's very similar to the reason why most large companies don't invest in, what McKinsey calls Horizon 3 disruptive innovation, because it's very hard to calculate the ROI initially. And so they tend to focus on those, low-hanging fruit where you can get that short-term return on investment. We know how big the market is, how many dollars we can make in the short term. But when you're doing something where it's kind of hard to calculate the ROI, companies tend to steer clear of that. But to your point, you can actually calculate the ROI with online marketing and growth hacking, because you can create ads with unique campaign IDs and pixels and whatnot, and actually track someone from the initial acquisition through to conversion and even referral and retention.
Yep. No, totally.
So I guess on the marketing side of things, particularly in large companies, traditionally, I guess there's been a little bit of a delineation between product and marketing. Product creates a product, marketing will come in and shout from the treetops, like you said, TV campaigns and whatnot, big above the line marketing campaigns. But today it's become, there is this coalescence between marketing and product. Particularly we're seeing in the startup world, marketing play a much more critical role in the early stages of the innovation lifecycle, where you're just testing assumptions relating to customer segment, product features. I mean, how important is it to engage these new world marketing tools, growth hacking tools early in the product development lifecycle?
It's very important because if you don't test, what's going to end up happening is you're going to create more than what you want. And what I mean by that is you're just going to end up spending money in things that don't necessarily make you more.
Have you got some great examples of, I suppose, where companies have gone on and spent more than they should have, that you can perhaps share?
I did with my first venture-backed startup, KISSmetrics. The first round we raised is $1 million. We spent $1 million building the product. Guess how much of that product we use today?
3% of it.
0. We built the wrong product because we didn't test out the market first.
Yeah, and that's a common thing. And I always say to early stage entrepreneurs or people that have never really built a business before, funding can be a blessing and a curse because it's often misinterpreted as validation of your business. And people just go out and spend it all on product and marketing, but not so much testing that customer appetite, which is where they should be focused early on in the piece.
Exactly.
So I know you're a huge advocate of content, as we've already touched on. Are there particular steps that companies should be taking when putting together a content strategy? Like I'm thinking when it comes to who you're targeting, what you're writing about, how to distribute the content, etc.
Yeah, you got that right. You also want to make sure you do a content calendar, figure out who's managing what, when you release the content. What's the goal of the content? Is it highly relevant? Is it to get related visitors, traffic, whatever it may be, right? But it just comes down to planning a lot of this stuff, and that's where most people make a mistake. They go in and they just start writing without planning, especially if you're a big company, because you'd be like, oh, so-and-so is going to write an article. What if there's multiple people in the company? Are you going to do the blog under one person's name or the company's brand? Like, how do you set it all up, right? And there's no right or wrong answer for a lot of these things. You just need to think them through and stick with it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I know you're a prolific blogger. You're obviously you're on your webinars and all sorts of stuff to maximize lead generation and eyeballs. Can you talk our audience through what your content strategy looks like?
Yeah, my content strategy is really simple. Write really educational pieces of content around questions that people have, such as like, oh, are there any tools that help you create content that converts, or the tools that speed up your writing, whatever it may be. I'm just trying to write posts that solve these problems for people.
Sure. How do you identify these questions?
The way I identify these questions is through email, Quora, BuzzSumo. I'm using these tools to figure out what people are searching for.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I think on BuzzSumo and tools like that, they can also help you identify potential leads rather than just content strategies. For example, if I'm a marketing agency and I search BuzzSumo for a keyword marketing strategy, and maybe I'll get all the most recent news articles alluding to company XYZ's embarking on a new marketing strategy, and then maybe someone's quoted in that article who I can find on LinkedIn and reach out to and say, hey, noticed you guys are looking to embark on a marketing strategy. This is us. Would love to have a coffee.
Yeah.
So a question I often pose to lean startup practitioners is, how do you know whether you have enough data to trust in the result before you start to make changes? For example, you could be targeting a particular demographic. Maybe you're targeting males 18 to 24, but the numbers don't quite stack up in your analytics. Are you targeting the wrong demographic? Are you selling the wrong thing? Or maybe your marketing strategy, your ad copy isn't quite up to scratch. How can you kind of know, one, if you've got enough data, and two, what you need to change?
Yeah, a few things. So the data, you just look for large sample sizes, like above 100. Anytime you have bigger sample sizes, you're usually fine. And then you have to just dive in and start looking at where things not working out. Is it the targeting? Is it the landing page? Is it the ads? Is it the copy? Is it whatever it may be with the campaigns or any marketing that you're doing? And you just have to start dissecting it and see where the drop-off is. I like looking at it as funnels. Like, where's the drop-off? Is my ads not getting clicks? Or are people going to a landing page and they're not converting? Or am I not getting organic ranking? Maybe I'm targeting the wrong keywords, or do I not have enough links? It's just analysis, right?
That's exactly right. So I wanted to talk about examples of growth hacking techniques you've seen work at large companies. Are there any that come to mind?
Yeah, for growth hacking techniques for large companies, The big thing that comes to mind is like I like looking at Dropbox. Dropbox did a lot of the early growth strategies, and they're a large company, right, worth multi-billions of dollars right now. They'll do something as simple like as a referral program: invite more people, get more space. That's a simple strategy that still works today. Now, a lot of times now people are like, oh, refer someone and get X, Y, and Z. But if the carrot that you're dangling isn't worth it, you won't get any referrals. The strategy works. It's just you have to figure out what to offer that makes people really want to do it.
Yeah, it's got to be compelling. And I like the Dropbox example because, and correct me if I'm wrong, when they were starting out, they actually spent more money acquiring customers. Yeah, but it was the fact that, I mean, for example, they'd spend $100 acquiring a customer.
And then the customer didn't even pay $60 in the first year.
Yeah, exactly. So touch on a few concepts there. And I wanted to touch on a little bit about yourself, and I know you've said that you don't want to be an entrepreneur forever, but I do know that you want to be one at least for the next 10 years. But if you could put your marketing talents to any use, what would it be?
A nonprofit space, just help them generate more income, awareness, right? And hopefully create an impact from.
You know, that's great. And I think especially, I know your background's Indian, and you know, I think we're going to see about 2 billion people come online in the next few years from developing countries, whether in Africa or parts of Asia, which is really, really exciting. And, you know, with online learning tools, mobile payments, you know, the possibilities for people to increase their income and their lifestyles in these countries is enormous.
Yeah, it's huge.
I'm just saying apps like there's Uber-like apps being used by rickshaw drivers now in India, which is helping them to increase their income by up to 300% because now they're actually driving around, picking people up at defined, you know, places rather than riding around aimlessly, you know, waiting for someone to raise their hand.
Yeah, it's funny because there's so many rickshaw drivers. People want the rickshaw person to take them around. They just can't connect with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the apps help connect them, right? It made the process more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really, I mean, you look at a lot of governments traditionally, that's like, oh, we've got this problem, we just need to throw more money at it. But it's about how can we solve this problem with technology or business model innovation and actually help people empower themselves, which I think is absolutely great. And, you know, to your point, that's perhaps something where you can help companies and not-for-profits who usually rely on handouts say, hey, you can use these techniques and grow your audience and grow your donations quite easily.
Yep.
Excellent. So I want to close out, Neil, on a few questions that I ask all of my guests. And I know if I was to ask you if you could work for any company, you'd probably say you wouldn't work for another company, you'd be an entrepreneur. So the question then becomes, if you could solve any problem in the world using your existing skill set, what would it be?
It would just be to help nonprofits get more awareness, whether it's on the fundraising side or cause side, or impact, right? Like making a change.
Sure.
I would probably do that.
Cool. Makes sense, man. If you could ask anyone a question, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you ask?
That's a tough one. I would probably ask Rockefeller a question.
Yeah, what would you ask?
What's the number one way you fight your competitors off, and how do you beat them, right?
That's quite... Because he had heaps of challenges, even in the regulatory context, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he had a lot of problems. He did well, though.
Yeah, well, I've been out to the Rockefeller Center in New York, so he's obviously done well. And finally, you're constantly, at least from this side of the world, it looks like you're constantly on. You're always kicking goals. So does Neil Patel have any rituals or routines that help him stay on top of his game?
No, I just keep working. I do everything based off my email inbox, so I star things that I need to do, like tasks, and I just try to get them done every day.
Yeah, cool. And I know you play quite a bit of sports?
Not too much. I love basketball. I used to play a lot more when I was a kid, but I'm getting old.
You're not old. You're 2 years younger than me, so you can't say that. But anyway, cool, man. So look, obviously people can head to neilpatel.com to find out a little bit more about yourself. Is there anything else they should be checking out?
That's it.
That's it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Neil. I'll include that in the show notes for our listeners. Thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. Take care.
Well, that's it for our interview with the one and only Neil Patel. To make sure you never miss a beat and keep in touch with all of the amazing guests we'll be bringing you, make sure you sign up to our mailing list at futuresquared.xyz. You can also subscribe, share, and like us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher. One or the other, or even all of the above would be much appreciated. And finally, to find out more about Collective Campus, you can head to collectivecamp.us. Until next time, Future Squared out.